The Hells Angels Motorcycle Club is known for its dominance on the streets, its ruthless reputation, and its long history of organized crime. But in the most dangerous corners of the world, the Hells Angels have encountered formidable enemies. None more fearsome than the Mexican cartels that I end this episode. We delve into the violent clash between the Hells Angels and Mexican drug cartels. This is the story of the most brutal Hells Angels who challenge some of the most dangerous criminal organizations on the planet. The rise of the Hells Angels. Scene shows old black and white footage of the Hells Angels' early days, their iconic logo slowly becoming known worldwide. The Hells Angels Motorcycle Club was founded in 1948 in California. From its humble beginnings, the club grew into one of the most powerful outlaw motorcycle gangs in the world. Known for its brutal reputation, the club quickly became involved in a variety of illegal activities: drug trafficking, arms dealing, and even contract killings. Over time, the Hells Angels spread across the globe, establishing chapters in nearly every corner of the world. However, despite their dominance in North America and Europe, one place remained a constant challenge for the Hells Angels: Mexico. The Mexican cartels. A new threat in Mexico. Powerful drug cartels like the Sinaloa, Zetas, and the Jalisco New Generation cartel rule with an iron fist. These criminal organizations are responsible for trafficking billions of dollars worth of illegal drugs, from cocaine and marijuana to fentanyl and heroin, into the United States and beyond. With billions in profits, the cartels control vast areas of Mexico with brutal violence, often wiping out anyone who dares to challenge them. At first, the Hells Angels stayed out of Mexico's cartel wars. But over time, as their influence spread, the club became entangled with cartel business, seeking to expand their operations into the lucrative drug trade. This would lead to a violent confrontation between two of the most feared criminal organizations in the world. The first encounter, a bloody turf war. It all began in the early 2000s, when the Hells Angels attempted to muscle in on the cartel's lucrative drug routes. The confrontation took place in the violent border region between the U.S. and Mexico, a hotbed for drug smuggling, violence, and illicit trade. The Hells Angels, eager to establish a presence in the region, began negotiating with local cartel leaders. However, the cartels were not willing to share their territory. The clash was inevitable. In 2002, a bloody turf war broke out, and what started as a territorial dispute quickly escalated into an all-out battle between the Hells Angels and one of Mexico's most powerful cartels. The fight was violent, brutal, and without mercy, both sides using every weapon at their disposal. The Hells Angels' brutality. The Hells Angels are not known for taking prisoners. With their strict no-retreat mentality, the members of the club fought fiercely against the cartel, utilizing their vast network of criminal resources. Their tactics were as ruthless as the cartels they were facing. They brought in military-grade weapons, including assault rifles and explosives, and engaged in high-stakes, high-violence confrontations. The violence didn't stop at the front lines. The Hells Angels made sure their enemies knew exactly who was responsible, often resorting to gruesome methods of intimidation and punishment. But the cartels were no strangers to brutality themselves. They had long since perfected the art of terrorizing entire regions through massacres, public executions, and ruthless revenge tactics. The Hells Angels quickly realized that they were up against a formidable enemy who would stop at nothing to defend their turf. The cartels counterattacked in response to the Hells Angels' incursion. The cartels retaliated with all their might. Cartel enforcers known for their savagery were sent after the Hells Angels, launching a series of brutal ambushes. The cartels used their vast network to track down members of the Hells Angels, kidnapping their associates and torturing them for information. The Hells Angels had never faced an adversary quite like this. The cartels were highly organized, highly violent, and fueled by the massive profits from the drug trade. The cartels controlled entire regions, including border towns and cities, and had access to unlimited resources, making them a nearly insurmountable foe that a deadly game of cat and mouse. What followed was a deadly game of cat and mouse, with both sides constantly watching their backs, planning ambushes, and retaliating for every move. For years, the violence escalated as both sides fought for dominance. During this period, several high-profile members of the Hells Angels were killed, including some of the most brutal enforcers in the club's history. The Cartels, in turn, suffered severe losses, but they too were known for their ability to rise from adversity. The violence and chaos didn't just stay at the border. In a few instances, the conflict spread to cities across the United States, leading to widespread fear and paranoia in the underworld. The aftermath. The Hells Angels' victory. Despite the cartel's overwhelming power, the Hells Angels were no strangers to violence and chaos. Over time, they were able to establish their presence in some parts of Mexico and the border regions, but it was at great cost. Countless lives were lost on both sides, and the violence would haunt the streets for years. Though some chapters of the Hells Angels were able to continue their operations in Mexico, the ongoing battle with the cartels left a legacy of bloodshed that would forever alter the landscape of organized crime. The Hells Angels were left with a choice: to continue the fight or retreat, that a legacy of brutality in the end. The brutal war between the Hells Angels and Mexican cartels remains a dark chapter in the history of organized crime. Both sides left their mark, but it was the sheer brutality, determination, and loyalty to their respective causes that defined this epic struggle. The Hells Angels' clash with the Mexican cartels is a testament to the lengths these outlaw groups will go to in order to protect their turf, and it reminds us of the unrelenting nature of their violent world. As the world watches, the Hells Angels continue to ride, a symbol of defiance and destruction that knows no bounds. The brutal clash between the Hells Angels and the Mexican cartels is a chilling reminder of the dangerous world these organizations inhabit. Their fight was not just about territory or power. It was about survival in a world where loyalty and violence reign supreme. Though the dust has settled, the legacy of this violent struggle endures. The Hells Angels, like the cartels, have left an indelible mark on the underworld. A mark forged through bloodshed, defiance, and unyielding strength that if there's one thing we've learned from this tale, it's that in the world of organized crime, there's no such thing as a fair fight. Only the survival of the fittest. Thanks for watching. If you want more stories like this, be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Keep your eyes open, stay informed, and remember, the line between order and chaos is often much thinner than we think. Stay safe, and we'll see you next time.
Angels Motorcycle Club, who claimed that the organization was just a bunch of fun-loving guys who just ride motorcycles. The undercover operation went active after the country had just witnessed a riot between the Hells Angels and the Mongols Outlaw, a rival motorcycle gang. The ATF sent J. Anthony "Jaybird" Dobbins, a special agent, to infiltrate the Hells Angels Motorcycle Club based in Arizona. Dobbins disguised as a gun runner who worked for the solo Angels Motorcycle Club and wanted to join the infamous Hells Angels. As expected, that wasn't enough to establish his credibility and earn him a spot in the gang. To get a spot in the Hells Club, J. Anthony orchestrated a fake murder of a member from Mongols Outlaw Motorcycle Gang and succeeded to get a spot in Angels. During the 21st month infiltration of the Hells Angels, 16 high-ranking members of the Hells Angels were convicted of various charges, including murder, murder for hire, and violations of federal racketeer influence and corrupt organization. The brutality of the Mexican cartel cannot be overemphasized. They can be very ruthless, especially when dealing with betrayers or anyone who attempts to get in their way. Cartels dominate territories by instilling fear in the hearts of residents. In an incident, 14 heads were found in ice cases outside a local government office in Nuevo Laredo. They can easily shoot people to kill, but they choose the hard way just to make a clear statement that they are above the law. The Mexican cartels are a crime network infamous for their criminal activities, including assassinations, kidnappings, turf wars, and most importantly, drug trafficking. Drug cartels in Mexico control a major amount of drug flows to America. They also have connections with high government officials, so no one dares to touch them that easily. The few people who are brave enough to confront them are used as scapegoats. They kidnap and kill rival gang members, civilians, police officers, enforcers, anyone that comes in their way. Mexican drug cartels usually dropped dead bodies by the roadside to send a warning to rival gangs.